Most people spend their lives hoping to be chosen. They seek approval like it's necessary for survival, eager for anyone, to see their worth. But they often don't see it in themselves. This is the condition of the modern soul, feeling unseen in a world that's always watching, and still believing it's your fault for not standing out more. But here's the truth: value doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, and it doesn't explain. It simply exists. And the moment you understand your true worth, not the version others assign to you, you begin to carry yourself differently. You are not a product waiting to be picked by the highest bidder. You are not a lesser version of yourself just because someone couldn't recognize your depth. The mistake is in thinking that worth must be proved instead of realized. But those who can't recognize gold in its natural form aren't meant to witness it once it shines. If you believe you are average, you will accept being treated as replaceable. You will ask for attention, settle for space, and still feel like it's not enough, not because you lack value, but because you gave others the tool to define it. To be seen as rare. Stop offering yourself as common. Stop lowering your standards for connection. Stop minimizing yourself to make others comfortable. There's no strength in desperation and no respect in being available to everyone. Luxury isn't about how many people want you. It's about how rare your presence is, how powerful your silence feels, how difficult it is to reach your inner world without true effort. This isn't easy. You were taught to give, to perform, to prove. You were told that if you just gave more, tried harder, loved deeper, you'd finally be enough. But the more you gave, the more they pulled away. Because people don't value what comes too easily. They don't respect what has no boundaries. You became an option not because you lacked worth, but because you forgot that your presence alone was the gift. Luxury doesn't beg to be chosen. It's recognized by those with the eyes and the depth to appreciate it. It doesn't audition or convince. It simply exists. And in that full, honest presence, it creates value. So the real question is not, what can I do to be chosen? But what do I need to remember to see myself as valuable? The answer: stop waiting for others to crown you when you were already born with your own. Everything you hide, soften, or change to seem more likable is exactly what makes you unique. If only you would accept it. Your depth, your calm, your boundaries, your expectations, these are not problems. These are signs of someone no longer willing to be misunderstood, just to feel temporarily accepted. You must walk into every space knowing your value is not up for debate, not from arrogance, but from awareness. And when you are aware, you stop accepting anything that asks you to leave yourself behind. You stop explaining your standards. You stop giving more just to be noticed. Because the truth is, they do see you. Most people notice your strength. They just act like they don't, hoping you haven't noticed it yet, hoping you'll keep lowering your value for their comfort. But once you recognize your worth, you become too costly for their convenience, and you must be okay with that. You must accept being too much for those who only want a little. You must accept being overlooked by those seeking something quick, easy, and ordinary. You are not ordinary. That's exactly the point. That's your strength. What is rare is not meant to be accepted by everyone. It is meant to be understood only by those who are able to receive it. So if you want to be seen as a luxury, you must first become unavailable to those who treat you like an afterthought. You must move beyond the need to be chosen and choose yourself with such clarity that your absence becomes a statement. When you truly recognize your inner worth, you stop offering discounts. You stop making yourself available to indecision. You stop waiting to be noticed. You become what is seen. The moment you stop needing approval is often when people begin to notice you. That's the paradox no one mentions. When you seek validation, people can feel it. And people don't often value what needs them, they value what doesn't. You might think being kind, present, responsive, and constantly proving your worth will earn you love. But giving endlessly without boundaries makes you invisible. When you're everywhere, you're nowhere in particular. Too much access makes people forget. You were not born to perform. You weren't meant to constantly change yourself to make others feel at ease. But over time, you were taught that if you just gave more, tried harder, or smiled longer, people would stay. They would see you. They would choose you. So you became a mirror reflecting what others wanted, never showing who you really are. But a mirror is only useful until the person sees themselves and moves on. and you're left with the emptiness of approval that never lasted. Validation is like a drug. It gives a short-lived high that fades once they stop praising, messaging, or needing something from you. In the silence, you panic. You question what went wrong. You replay everything, wondering what more you could have done. But the real mistake was abandoning yourself just to be accepted. You forgot that someone who knows their worth doesn't wait for validation. They show it through their standards, their ability to be alone, and their refusal to give up their identity for temporary affection. Once you make someone else responsible for your self-worth, you give them the power to harm you. If their praise builds you up, their rejection can tear you down. That's not love, that's emotional dependence. Many stay as options because they live for recognition, not alignment. They want to be chosen so badly, they lose who they are in the process. But what's the point of being chosen if you had to disappear to be accepted? People are drawn to those who are self-contained, who stay steady in silence, who don't beg. When under pressure, there's a quiet strength in someone who validates themselves, who doesn't need anyone's approval to feel whole, who can walk away even if they'd prefer to stay. That energy is rare, and rarity naturally draws attention without asking for it. If you want to stop being treated as an option, you must stop making your self-worth flexible. Stop reshaping your truth to make others comfortable. If someone can't accept your full self, they are not meant to stand in your presence. Let them go. You weren't made for mass appeal. You're meant to be valued by the few who see you clearly without asking you to change. And yes, it may feel lonely at first, because when you stop chasing approval, those who only cared about what you could offer will leave. But let them. Their absence is not a loss, it's your freedom. It's your soul returning to its rightful place, whole, grounded, and beyond reach. When you no longer seek approval, something shifts. You begin to set the standard. You become the one others try to impress, not because you're playing a game, but because you've stepped out of it completely. And in that, you rise quietly, steadily, genuinely. What is truly valuable doesn't need to chase attention. It doesn't ask to be loved. It doesn't perform. It simply exists. And those who are meant to notice will. There's a reason people notice stillness more than noise. True presence doesn't come from being loud or flashy. It comes from something deeper, from the calm in your voice, the steadiness in your eyes, the way you carry yourself like you know exactly who you are, even when no one's watching. If you want to be seen as a luxury, stop covering emptiness with appearance. Focus instead on building your essence. True luxury doesn't ask for attention, it attracts it naturally. We live in a world that teaches people to decorate the surface and ignore the core. They learn how to look appealing, but forget how to become someone worth being drawn to. They perfect how to present themselves, but struggle to pause. They speak with a polished tone, live in curated moments, and forget that presence isn't about appearance, it's the energy that enters the room with you. And that energy can't be faked. You can wear elegance, but if you don't embody it, others will feel the disconnect. They always do. Your value doesn't come from how much attention you can gather, it comes from how little you need. We're taught to chase appearances, to build a look of value. But no matter how much you dress up a hollow shell, it will still feel weak. When you have depth, you don't need decoration. You don't need to speak loudly to be noticed. Your stillness shows it. Your boundaries show it. Your refusal to prove yourself shows it. True elegance is in the one who doesn't panic in silence, who doesn't fill every space just to feel seen, who knows that their presence alone carries weight, not from volume, but from stability. That's what people remember, not the one who was everywhere, but the one who stood still and still said more than others. Stop focusing on visibility. Start building substance. If you want to be seen as a luxury, become someone who brings real value just by being present. To do that, you must stand firmly in who you are. Know yourself when there is no applause, no attention, no praise. Most people lose themselves in that space. But if you've done the work, you remain centered. There's no luxury in pretending, no elegance in being everything to everyone. You become magnetic when you become real. When your voice comes from a grounded place, not a scripted one. When your presence feels calm, not performed. People sense it when you've done the work. They may not name it, but they feel it in how you don't chase, in how you don't shrink, in how you look at someone not to be seen, but to see. And in that presence, They begin to respect your silence more than they ever respected your words. They listen more closely because your energy speaks first. And when that energy is rooted in depth, it leaves an impression long after you've gone. People stop treating you like an option when they realize they've come across something uncommon, not someone trying to be liked, but someone committed to being real. Don't exchange depth for attention. Don't give up truth for popularity. You might win over the crowd, but you'll lose your authenticity. And authenticity is not awarded to the loudest voice, it's given to the one who holds themselves with quiet confidence, someone whose sense of self doesn't shift based on who stays or leaves. That's when you're no longer seen as replaceable. That's when people begin to respect your time, your words, and your silence because they know it's not about being seen by many, but being truly known by a few, those who have depth, who bring presence, who don't perform to be noticed. They're not one of many, they're rare. You don't become luxury by copying it. You become it by embodying what can't be bought or borrowed: self-possession. The people who move through life with steady confidence, who feel deeply but remain composed, they earn lasting respect. Emotional detachment isn't about being cold or indifferent, it's about control. It's the ability to feel fully while choosing how to respond. Many people are controlled by emotions. They love only when they feel loved. They shut down when hurt. They react quickly and confuse the chaos with passion. But real strength isn't about reacting, it's about staying grounded. Even when everything inside urges you to run, fight, or chase, you must learn to feel deeply, but hold lightly. Love someone without needing them to complete you. Care without becoming dependent. That's where emotional freedom begins. Because if your feelings drive your decisions, you stay vulnerable to other people's moods. They can lift you with a word or break you with silence. And when people know they have that power, they stop respecting your boundaries. You become predictable and easy to throw off balance. But when you develop detachment not as avoidance, but as a conscious practice, everything shifts. You become harder to read, not because you're hiding, but because you no longer share your energy carelessly. People begin to wonder what you're thinking, how you're feeling, why you didn't react. And in that stillness, in that control, you become powerful because others can sense when your emotions can't be used against you. It changes the way they treat you. There's dignity in not having to prove how much you care, in not explaining every feeling, in being able to sit in discomfort without rushing to fix it. That's rare. That's luxury. Most people overreact, over-explain, and overexpose. But the one who feels the storm and still speaks calmly, who moves with intention, that person becomes unforgettable. And no, this isn't about shutting down. It's not pretending to feel nothing. It's learning to manage your emotions instead of being overwhelmed by them. When someone triggers you, you don't need to lash out. You don't need to prove yourself. You take a breath, come back to yourself, and respond from clarity, not fear. There's nothing more surprising than someone who doesn't get pulled into emotional games. Someone who doesn't chase when ignored, who doesn't collapse when rejected. That level of emotional control changes how others see you. It forces respect, sometimes even fear of losing you. People who carry this kind of calm don't need to raise their voices. Their presence says more than most words. Their silence carries more weight than constant attention. That's the kind of energy that makes people take notice, not because you asked, but because they realize they're witnessing something rare, stable, and not easily defined or influenced. This is how you stop being seen as just another option, because options are chosen out of convenience. But luxury is remembered, even in absence. And emotional detachment is the base of that energy, not as a wall, but as a form of self-respect. You care, but you don't cling. You feel, but you don't lose yourself. You love, but you stay centered. Yes, some people will call you distant, unreadable, or cold. Let them. Their misunderstanding is not your responsibility. The people who truly understand you, the ones who can sit with your stillness without trying to change it, will never ask you to compromise your center for their comfort. You don't have to explain your calm. You don't have to justify your peace. You don't have to lower your emotional standards to make others feel secure. Because the one who can sit in silence, love without attachment, and walk away without bitterness, that person becomes unforgettable. You can't ask to be treated. as valuable while choosing situations that treat you like an afterthought. That contradiction is what keeps you stuck. Many people ask for respect, love, and recognition, yet they keep saying yes to what hurts them. They stay in situations where they are barely acknowledged, only valued when useful, and merely tolerated. Then they wonder why no one sees them as a priority. But here's the truth. No one will treat you like a luxury if you treat yourself like an option. Every time you allow someone back without accountability, every time you ignore your own needs to keep the peace, every time you explain your worth to someone unwilling to see it, you reinforce the idea that you'll accept poor treatment, and people learn from patterns. If you accept less, they won't offer more, not because you don't deserve it, but because they've learned you'll settle. That's the part most don't want to admit. We teach people how to treat us not only through words, but through choices. It takes courage to walk away from what feels familiar. It takes strength to keep your standards, even when your heart wants to bend just to feel close. But each time you do, you begin to choose alignment over attachment. You reclaim parts of yourself. You stop compromising your dignity. You stop abandoning your own needs just to avoid being left by someone else. And slowly, you start to show the world a new way to treat you, not through force or performance, but by no longer staying in places that reduce your value. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Saying no to what hurts you often means facing loneliness. It means sitting in silence instead of chasing approval. It means leaving messages unanswered, closing doors, letting conversations go, not out of resentment, but out of clarity and self-respect. Your healing may upset those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Let it. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them wonder. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You owe yourself peace. People often ask, how do I make them see me differently? But the better question is, how do I start treating myself differently? Because the shift begins with you. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing closure. You stop proving your worth. You stay grounded in your truth calmly and consistently. You honor your value even when no one acknowledges it. And when you stop entertaining chaos, inconsistency, and emotional scraps, people start to notice the impact of your absence. Only then do they begin to understand the meaning of your presence. But you can't teach that lesson if you keep returning too quickly. If you keep giving one more chance, one more excuse, one more piece of yourself, you may think you're being kind or patient, but really you're lowering your standards. And love without self-respect isn't love, it's attachment pretending to be care. There's nothing wrong with being soft-hearted, but softness must be protected by firm boundaries. You're not here to be emotionally available to people who see your worth and still ignore it. You're here to be whole, steady, and rare. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is leave. Leave the repeated conversations. Leave the anxious relationships. Leave the story where you keep proving yourself. Your energy is meaningful. The more you understand that, the clearer it becomes. Not everyone should have access to it. Not everyone is meant to sit at your table. And those who are, they won't need convincing. They will recognize it, respect it, and meet you there. You teach people how to treat you by not staying where you're unvalued. One of the biggest illusions is believing that being chosen by others will finally make us feel enough, that if someone sees us, wants us, picks us, maybe then we'll stop doubting our worth. But the truth is, if you don't already feel like you're enough, being chosen won't fix it. It will just turn into another performance, another mask, another place to seek approval. Eventually, you'll feel just as empty, but now surrounded by people who love the version you created, not the person you are. You don't rise by being liked, you rise by being real. There are many who are likable, agreeable, pleasant, but very few who are unforgettable. And being unforgettable doesn't come from trying to stand out. It comes from being authentic. It means letting go of the urge to please, letting go of the need for approval. Because the cost of being liked by everyone is usually the loss of your true self. You begin softening your truth, hiding your edges, dimming your light to avoid rejection. But you weren't meant to be a lighter version of yourself. When you move through life like you are the prize, everything changes. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's knowing that your presence matters, your time is valuable, and your energy is not to be wasted. But this awareness doesn't come from surface-level confidence. It comes from deep internal work, from sitting with your pain and learning to heal it. Not expecting others to do it for you. It comes from not confusing attention with love or closeness with real connection. Many people are so eager to be chosen that they forget to choose themselves. They wait for someone else to validate their intelligence, their beauty, their heart. But if your value depends on someone else's approval, it was never grounded in truth. You don't become valuable when someone notices you. You already are. Their recognition only shows whether they're able to see clearly, and not everyone can. Some will miss you because they're drawn to drama. Some will avoid you because your calm challenges their habits. Some will walk away because they can't use you like they've used others. Let them. You are not here to be easy for those who lack depth. You are here to remain honest, grounded, and loyal to your path. You don't win by chasing. You don't win by explaining. You win by becoming so centered in who you are that those who can't honor it naturally fall away, not because you pushed them, but because they couldn't stay in the presence of someone who no longer needs to be chosen to feel whole. This is when life begins to change, when you stop trying to prove your worth and begin walking in it. When you stop making yourself small just to fit in. When you stop accepting half effort, half love, half presence. True value doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need a campaign. It simply exists. It speaks in how you speak to yourself, in what you allow and what you walk away from. There's a difference between being wanted and being respected. Many will want you. Few will respect you. But those who do, they will treat you as a standard, not as a second choice. The only way to attract that level of respect is to first give it to yourself. No more negotiating your needs. No more settling for almost. No more offering your value to people who only show up when it's easy. The more you live in alignment with your worth, the less reachable you become to those who don't recognize it. You're not here to be picked. You're here to choose. And once you understand that, you stop being just an option. You become unforgettable. You don't become a luxury by being louder. You become a luxury by being still. By being clear. By knowing who you are so deeply that anyone who doesn't see it simply isn't meant to. Let others chase attention. You set the standard. The moment you stop asking to be chosen is the moment they realize you never needed to be. If this message resonates with you, it means you're ready to stop settling. Subscribe and continue this journey with us. Thank you.